a well-renowned motivator, trainer, life coach, and mentor. He has worked in corporates like Procter & Gamble, 𝗏𝗏, and the list is quite long. We welcome you here, sir. Mrs. Poorna J. Durachi, she's principal, the Ashok Leyland School. She has been working in the field of education for more than 15 years. Please, a big round of applause for everybody. She has a specialization in remediation learning difficulties. We have with us Mrs. Majella Philip. She is principal of Babaji Vidyashram School. She's founder principal. She's presently the founding principal with 22 years of experience. She has experience in strategic planning and implementation of all school programs, curriculum planning and implementation. Welcome, ma'am. We have with us Mr. Krishnan Ramaswamy. He is the Managing Director, Systema Automation India. He is a parent representative here to give us views about what are the parents' perspective and expectations. Also, we have with us Mr. G.R. Sridhar. He is founder, president, Tamil Nadu Correspondents Association of Private School. He has 30 plus years of experience in the field of education. He has conducted various debates on television and in conferences. He runs a school, Dr. J.C. 𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, mind me if I have spelled it wrong, economic advisor of Gandhiji. Now I would request Narayan Hariharan sir to please take over the session.
Thank you. It's been a great opportunity to be able to listen to all of you from morning and also be able to look at the concept of stakeholders' expectations. Since we have brought in a systems approach to education beyond just one school or a child, going beyond literacy and moving into education, we have brought in a lot of parallel learnings from other industries. And since we also have industrialists and other people who are from a non-education background, we look at beneficiaries as what the education policy talks about and what Dr. Ravi also told as beneficiary experience. We would like to look at beneficiaries as stakeholders. And when that perception of moving a step ahead, of looking at beneficiaries at a receiving end, rather than participative contribution as a stakeholder and demand quality and outcome or qualitative outcomes, the whole perception goes to a next level. And to a large extent, the education industry has been working towards this perceptual change, both as a demand and as an internal qualitative improvement. So this panel will be able to give in various aspects of listening to what the various stakeholders expect from educational system with their individual experiences and the collective experiences that we would be bringing together. Probably the lacking point, as Dr. Purushothaman mentioned in the previous session, is that we don't have a children representative, but we do have. True, but nothing like listening from the stakeholders directly. Yeah, but all said and done, we could also reflect upon what we could have. It would have been a complete session if we really had children representatives also, but we will try to fill that gap as we were told. So to begin with, I would like to ask Dr. Krishnan Kutty sir, with his vast experience as administrator, where is the need to understand expectations of the stakeholders?
Yeah, I'll just switch on my mic first and then come back to you for that question. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's not switching on. I don't question. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, namaste to all, and to kickstart the discussion, let me just go on to an anecdote. Just a humor one, right? Not to take it that seriously and bang me when I get out of this hall. If you talk about the expectations, I think the board is still showing the previous caption, but if you really look at the expectation of the stakeholders, there are two types of stakeholders. One is the internal and the other one is the external. Can I ask you if there are People who are managing schools, or the correspondents or the trustees, what are your expectations? What do you expect? What do you expect? What do you expect? Quality or more income? More revenue for the school to run the school better? Yeah, it is business. Let's accept the fact. Absolutely, I agree with him. I think let's give him a big applause for taking me on that. The number two, the teacher's expectations. As a stakeholder, what is the teacher? Salary and less work. Sorry, don't mistake me. We're all teachers. And if you look at the students, less to study, more fun in the classroom. These are the internal expectations of the stakeholders. Am I right? Am I right? A little louder, please. You can add a little later. But there are external stakeholders. You know, the government, the state government CEOs, the chief educational officers, the police. So what are their expectations? I don't want to announce that publicly at the moment. Absolutely, I know. He says he'll keep it very confidential, but then getting on to his question, like 140 crores of the Indian population, right? Are we the number one in the world? At least, yeah, almost. I think we are going to beat, at least in one aspect, that India is going to be the number one populated country, beating China, right? Number two, someone mentioned about 140 million students in school. Someone mentioned about 15 lakh schools. That's about, if you look at the government, it's almost about 1.1 million schools in the government sector. And if you look at the standard, the quality we are talking about, more so focused into the government schools. We all spoke well about the government schools. I've been to various government schools in my earlier assignment with 𝗤𝗲𝗏 𝗦𝗵. Went to different schools across the country, which is pathetic. If you look at, I don't want to say which state it is, but I've gone to schools where the children are studying along with the hen, cattle, the sheep, the goat, the cow. There are children, we're talking about the colleges having no chairs to sit. I've seen schools where girls do not have separate toilets. Can you imagine this? We are talking about the quality of our teaching learning process. Somebody said it's not the teaching learning process. I've seen schools where the children sit, of course, in the college, it may be a smooth surface. But I've seen the students jumping after every 10 minutes from this place to this place because the stones poke their bums. This is the true story of the situation, what I saw about 6 or 7 years back when I traveled across the country to really assess the quality of education. Even today, if I ask you, may agree, may not agree, maybe my statistics may be wrong, but the fact of the matter is, even today, a fifth grade student cannot read the third grade textbook. Am I right? If you look at a student of fifth grade, he or she not able to solve a mathematical problem or subtract 2 digits. Let me tell you this. Am I right? Even the 2, if you ask them to minus 15, minus 12, she or he fumbles. The third true, which I want to expose today, is today the Indian students, we're talking about the international arena, but if you look at the Indian students, the quality, they are 2 years behind what they should be. If somebody is studying in fifth, they're fit for the third standard. So barring this, let me go into one important, before my sir asked me to keep my mouth shut. Let me go to we all heard about Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has brought in something called, SAT, Sustainable Action for Transforming, right? Human, right? Somebody, SAT-E, education. Sustainable Action for Transforming Human Actions, or human capital, whatever you say. And the finding has been brought by BCG, Boston Consulting Agency. You know, they tried this in 2017 in 3 states. Chhattisgarh, you have Madhya Pradesh, you have Orissa into this category. And you know what? They had some 5 pillars, and 5 pillars on which the entire government, starting from the chief minister to the minister of education, to the chief secretary, to the administrators, to the district collector, everybody involved in this. 5 pillars. I'll just say these 5 pillars. And the first pillar was, reforms on curriculums. focus on the reforms on curriculum. That's number one pillar. The number two pillar is, of course, on the human capacity, building teachers' capacity. That's number two. Number three, strengthening the administrative system of your school. That's number three. The number four is the strengthening, of course, is on the policies that each individual school implements differently, whether it's a government or a aided or a private school. The fourth one is on what I call as, driving for accountability. Today it is not so today. And the last one is creating and sharing on vision changes that's taking place. So these are the 5 pillars, and what the recent BCG mentioned, that out of all this implementation for the last 4-5 years, there has been a growth in terms of 20% growth in the quality of these schools, government schools in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and which is the third? Nobody's listening. This is a problem with all of you. Odisha, you call it as. Wonderful. And why don't we implement this also into our schools, whether most of you are, many of you are into private schools? How many of the teachers go to the industries? It's not the job of a professional college, engineering college, center placement officer, all the way to Bombay or to Delhi or to America to find out what the need of an industry. Why don't our teachers go to those industries and come back and start those extra curriculum, add to the whatever curriculum, whether you follow CBSE or Cambridge or ICC, whatever it is. So can we add into the academics, adding many more into this? So send our teachers. That's number one. Send, when you look at the administrative system, whatever not needed in the MAS, we have enough MAS. Please remove what is not required and have only that. Your cost of education, somebody was mentioning, would certainly go down. When you talk in terms of vision, how many of the, when you talk, is the communication required to all the stakeholders? How many of our parents know about the vision of that particular school? Very rarely. There can be a separate vision for the primary, secondary, senior secondary. Keep changing it as the need goes on. You can't have what you held on 30 years back, the same vision, the same mission, the same quality policy. You need to keep changing. And the change has to be brought by straight away going to the communication. So these are the areas where I personally feel a communication, because the success has come for all those 3 states through implementing those new policy, which I just mentioned. The Niti Ayog has announced just recently, about 6 months back, the success of these 3. And why don't we implement this into our administration or into our management of our schools? So we also grow from a level of this to higher level. So that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. We'll come back to you in the second round. So Mr. Sridhar, sir, with your association of being the founder president of the Correspondence Association, what do you feel are the stakeholders' expectations, and how do we communicate it to the various stakeholders?
கொஞ்சம் தமிழ்லேயே பேசலாமா? எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் தமிழ் நல்லா வரும், இங்கிலீஷும் நல்லா வரும். இருந்தாலும் என்ன தமிழில் பேசலாமான்னா ஒருத்தர் ஒன்றும் இதே காணும், சத்தத்தையே காணும்.
எதிர்ப்பு கொடுக்காத வரைக்கும் அனுமதி.
எஸ் சார். இன்னைக்கு நிறைய மாற்றங்கள் இந்தியாவில் நடந்து வருது. கல்விக் கொள்கையில் நிறைய மாற்றங்கள். இந்த மாற்றங்கள் எதை நோக்கி போகுது? யாருக்காக இந்த மாற்றங்கள்? பள்ளிக்கூடம் நடத்துகிறவங்களுக்காகவா, பேரண்ட்டுக்காகவா, இல்லை கல்வியில் முன்னேற்றம் அப்படின்னு காண்றதுக்காகவா? இங்கே சொன்னாங்க, ஒரு நல்ல சூழல், இந்த அக்ரிடியேஷனுங்கிறது இந்த சமயத்தில் கொடுக்கறதுங்கிறது ஒரு நல்ல சூழல். ஏன் அப்படின்னா, பள்ளிகள் எல்லாமும் ஒன்றா இருக்கணும்னு சொல்கிறத காட்டிலும் பள்ளிகளில் உள்ள மாணவர்களுக்கு வாய்ப்புகள் ஒன்றா வழங்கப்படணும். இந்தியா முழுவதும் பள்ளிகள் ஒன்றா இருக்கிறது பெரிய விஷயம் இல்லை, பள்ளிகளை ஒன்றா வைக்கிறது பெரிய விஷயம் இல்லை. ஐஎஸ்ஓக்கும் இந்த நபார்டுக்கும் என்ன வித்தியாசம் அப்படின்னு கேட்குறப்ப மணி சார் ரொம்ப அருமையாக சொன்னார். அவுட்கம்ஸ் தான் முக்கியம், இன்ஃப்ராஸ்ட்ரக்சர் முக்கியம் இல்லை. அவுட்கம் ஆஃப் த எஜுகேஷனல் இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் எப்படி இருக்குது அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறது. ஏன்னா எல்லாருமே இன்னைக்கு இந்தியாவில் தங்களுடைய குழந்தைகளுக்கான பணத்தை பெற்றோர்கள் எஜுகேஷனுக்காகவும் மெடிக்கலுக்காகவும் மட்டுமே தான் நிறைய செலவிடுறாங்க. இது உண்மை. இந்த இடத்துல ஸ்கூல்ஸில் காலையில் சொன்னது மாதிரி வேரியஸ் டைப்ஸ் ஆஃப் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் இருக்குது. அதாவது ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய பணக்காரர்களுக்கான பள்ளிக்கூடம், சாதாரண மக்களுக்கான பள்ளிக்கூடம், எதுவுமே இல்லாத அரசாங்க பள்ளிகளில் படிக்கிறதுக்கான ஒரு பள்ளிக்கூடம். இந்த 3-4 படிநிலைகள் இங்கே இருக்குது. இந்த 3-4 பள்ளிகள்லையும் நம்ம ஒரே மாதிரியான புஸ்தகங்கள் கொடுக்குறோம், ஒரே மாதிரியான கரிக்குலம் கொடுக்குறோம், ஒரே மாதிரியான அவுட்கம் வேணும்னு எதிர்பார்க்குறோம். கடைசியில எதுல வந்து நிக்கிறோம் அப்படின்னு சொன்னோம்னா வெறும் 720 மார்க்ல வந்து நிக்கிறோம். அதுக்கு யார் 640 வாங்குறாங்களோ அவங்க தான் புத்திசாலி அப்படின்ட்டு போயிடுறோம். What are the various type of curriculum, various type of activities, various type of inclusion of the day-to-day activities, and how many sorts of equipments, whatever the today's achievements of the equipments, modern equipments, I have the ultra equipments, whatever it may be, we are bringing to the child. But entirely, finally, we go what we are standing in that only 720 marks. Those who are attaining the 720 marks, that school is good. Those who are attaining the state first, that school is good. Those who are attaining the very big quantity of the number of students, that school is good. A very vomiter is the good school. Practicing the vomiting is good. For the days, the children are not accept ourselves because they are far away from us. Due to the far away from us, they go some unwanted result, end their life. Day to day, end their life of the students is we are losing the entire community's faith on us. That's not a single matter. இந்த இறப்பு, மாணவர்களுடைய தற்கொலை, நமது மீது உள்ள அவநம்பிக்கையை நாம் எதிர்நோக்கி கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். இந்த percentage வந்து 1 2 இருக்கலாம், இன்னைக்கு 3 இருக்கலாம், 4 இருக்கலாம். It will lead to some goes there. The entire community will have the distance from us totally. They are avoiding us. நீங்க நகர்ப்புறத்துல உங்களுக்கு அந்த மாதிரியான நிகழாம இருக்கலாம். மாணவர்களுடைய எண்ணிக்கை குறைகிறது நிகழ்றது என்ன, அந்த நிகழ்வு மாணவர்களுடைய சேர்க்கை எண்ணிக்கை குறைகிறது நிகழாம இருக்கலாம். ஆனா கிராமப்புற பகுதிகளில் அதாவது இந்த பள்ளிகள்ல இருந்து மாணவர்கள் எய்தர் CBSE ஆர் ICC ஆர் வாட் எவர் த கரிக்குலம், தே கான் அவே ஃப்ரம் அஸ். நம்மள்ட்ட இருந்து மாணவர்கள், பெற்றோர்கள் விலகி போயிட்டு இருக்காங்க. நம்மள்ட்ட இருந்து அவங்க எதிர்பார்க்கிறது எல்லாம், நீங்க என்ன மாற்றம் வேணாலும் கொண்டு வாங்க, எங்க குழந்தைகளை ஒதுக்கிறாதீங்க. எங்க குழந்தைகள் மக்கா இருக்கலாம், எங்க குழந்தைகள் ஒண்ணுமில்லாம இருக்கலாம், எங்க குழந்தைகள் படிக்க தெரியாம இருக்கலாம், அந்த குழந்தைகளுக்கு சேர்த்து அந்த கல்வியை கொடுங்க அப்படின்னு தான் நம்ம நினைக்கிறோம். காலையில சொன்னது மாதிரி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பெஞ்சஸ் தான் நம்ம உருவாக்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறோம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பெஞ்சுக்காக தான் நம்ம பாடுபட நினைக்கிறோம். பட் லாஸ்ட் பெஞ்ச் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் தான் இந்த நாட்டை எப்படி ஆளணும்னு நிர்ணயம் பண்றாங்க. நீங்க எங்க உட்கார்ந்து இருக்கணும்னு நிர்ணயம் பண்றாங்க. அவங்களுக்கான குவாலிட்டிஸை நம்ம கொடுக்கணும். மார்க்கை கொடுக்க முடியாது, அவங்களுக்கான குவாலிட்டிஸை கொடுக்கணும். அவங்களுக்கான குவாலிட்டிஸை கொடுக்குறப்ப இந்த சமுதாயத்துக்கு பயனுள்ளவங்களா அந்த மாணவர்கள் மாறுறப்ப, அந்த மாணவர் சமுதாயம் மாறுறப்ப தான் இந்த சமுதாயம் என்ன செஞ்சிருக்கு, இந்த சமுதாயம் அவங்க என்ன கிடைச்சிருக்குன்னு அவங்களுக்கு தெரியும். The society, what they are giving the society to the students, what we are expecting from the students, thus the level is balanced by the schools only. The principals are acting much more importance, give much more importance to that line only. To that line only. After that, they can talking about the qualities of education and the systemic of education and the equipments of education. Whatever we bring to them, they can capture it, they can grow it. That's my point of view, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Management சரியா இருந்தா போதும் சார். வேண்டாம், டீச்சர்ஸ் வேண்டாம், டீச்சர்ஸ் வேண்டாம் சார். மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் சரியா இருந்தா எவ்ரிதிங் இஸ் கோயிங் குட் சார். சூப்பரா இருக்காங்க. எஸ் சார். இந்த மாணவர்களை சொசைட்டிக்கு பங்களிப்பவர்களா நல்ல சிந்தனையோட வளர்க்கிறவங்க நல்ல மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்.
அதாவது நல்ல நிர்வாகம் என்பது யார்?
அதான் சொல்றேன்.
இல்ல எஜுகேட்டடா படிச்சு குவாலிஃபைடா ஸ்கூல் நடத்துறவங்களா, படிக்காத ஸ்கூல்
யார் வேணாலும் நடத்தலாம் சார்.
யார் வேணாலும் நடத்தலாம். No. What we are expecting, what the parents are expecting, what kind of education the educated people can decide.
No, nothing, sir.
No, sir.
Not the educated people decide the.
All other people are focusing on business. You understand?
Not sir. Not sir.
What you are telling, whether management or teachers, you are telling, all are important for the education, quality of education. You understand?
Definitely, sir. Absolutely. But the manager, sir, you have the good teacher. The management is not the good in condition.
No.
How can the teacher is signed, sir?
Thank you. 1 minute. அதாவது இந்த சமுதாயம், இந்த நாடு எப்படி உருவாகணும் மனநிலையிலன்னு சொல்லிட்டு யாருமே நினைக்கல. All are focusing on board examination.
Sir,
nothing, sir. அதான் சொல்றாரு, வேண்டாம்னு சொல்றேன். மார்க்கால மட்டும் பார்க்காதீங்கன்னு சொல்றேன்.
I would request all the participants to take the questions, ask questions during the question answer round, please.
Because for all we know, the points that you are trying to raise would also have been addressed by other
participants. Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can, sir. Thank you, sir. Please. Thank
You're
you.
most welcome to ask questions. Please make a list of it and you can probably address to the particular person who has got an expertise in it. Thank you, sir. So coming to Ms. Poorna, madam.
We'll tell you, sir.
Hopefully.
We'll tell you.
I'm sure there will be an outcome because that's what we are all here for. Thank you so much, sir. So Poorna, madam, with your experience with the rural schools and this divide between urban, rural and community expectations, where do you see stakeholders' expectations and how do you address it with your experience and expertise?
Cheerful good afternoon to all of you.
Good afternoon.
I represent a school which is come under a corporate banner. But still, let me tell you what are the practices that makes us very different and better. It's an inclusive school, first of all. Okay, the expectations, what very clearly states, any school, okay, in the locality, international, national, the very backbone of a school is performance of students. And who decides the future of the children? If the management looks at marks as the performance, then marks is the performance for them. If the management looks at skill development of the children as as the outcome, then that becomes the standardization or the benchmark for that school. Now you decide, like under what parameter you look at your school. There are principals here, CEO, correspondent, every one of us represent this. Let's decide what is the objective behind our own positions, what we hold. That we have to be very, very clear. However, the total world, the society looks for only the performance of children. Now, NEP talks about a lot of skill education in them. If a school starts looking at only a 10th and the 12th grade performance, and I don't think that will make a school best or better. When a school starts looking at the very what you call it as a very primary grade, why is a child not able to do this? Can we just look at what kind of an analysis can be done to make the child perform better? Is this only academic performance that I have to look at, or it is a holistic performance? Let us look at the percentage of co-scholastic activities that are embedded into the curriculum. Whether it is like 80% of our students spend only learning the core subjects, or we make them get into a lot of community services, we take them into a lot of a project-based learning where these expectations are met through that. So I think we as leaders of the school, we have to have a good vision. We should be a visionary leader in understanding what is the expectations of the stakeholder, but at the same time, within what is within our control, how are we going to perform it? Now this 𝗏𝗏𝗏, let me just thank before I just proceed with one thing. Each one has their own expectations in life. Like my earlier speaker who said, just gives the path for us. How we can build that qualitative learning in children is what we have to look at. And always we say last benches should not be avoided. They have to be pulled on. Only when we have an eye for that quality in them. When a percentage of marks, let's look at a small classroom scenario. When a class average is shown as 62, normally what do? We just put them into different scores and we just look at, okay, I have to just perform 10% more than what is being achieved. So what did the teacher do? When the management tells, Adutha nimisha, you have to have in your next assessment, I should see a 10% improvement, either there is a lot of leakage of questions, or she looks at various strategies, tools, and she puts in a lot of effort to make that improvement happen. Am I right? So if you just dive down deeper into that, is it, my teacher has already prepared the plan well, and when she executed it, is it that 80% of the class did not do well, or the 20% of the children who did not well? Should I look for my children who have not achieved well based on that ability what they have, or the teacher has to reform her own lesson plans, preparations, or include a various strategy? In the differentiation, we are telling that improvement. Where do we look for improvements? In the improvement, When you start analyzing the gaps, automatically improvement happens. And NABERT doesn't talk about getting the scores. NABERT shows us a path. Now, I'm not supporting, okay? When we start looking at the quality in the life, when we start looking at the quality in the education, what we deliver, when we start looking at the quality in the team with which we are working. Somebody said, teachers olunga irukkanumla. Illa, management, as he rightly puts forward, the management should know where my child stands, what support I should render, where do my teachers stand, what kind of a continual improvement, capacity building program I have to have it. All that we have to. That is why we call it as a long-term, short-term goals, all that. When these things are clear, it's easy for us to talk to our stakeholders who are parents.
Thank you, Madam,
Yeah.
for this introspective explanation of what should ideally happen and how it is happening. Ms. Majella Philip, we would like to listen to your aspects of, as a principal, how you have been able to set standards for stakeholders' expectations.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think it all boils down to a society's definition of what success is. I worked abroad for more than 2 decades, and I've seen the perspective of stakeholders there and here is vastly different. For example, if you look at parents abroad, they would proudly tell you, my child, he loves to sail, and he's a sailor by profession. Would any of us here be proud to say that my child is a sailor or a fisherman? None of us would. Yeah. So the very definition of success has to be redefined. Only then all stakeholders would be happy in this society. To begin with, parents who are a big stakeholder in a child's life, what do they define the success of the child to be? What do they expect the child to achieve in the future? See, in our school, for example, when the parents come for admission, we make it very clear, we don't give NEET or IIT coaching. We'll go for all-round development of the child, not only knowledge acquisition, but skills development, values and attitudes would be important in our school. So if you're okay with that, you admit your child. So we make it very clear to the stakeholders, this is what our school is all about. Then you take teachers. Now everybody is lamenting about quality of teachers. Now, how do you treat teachers? I see in many schools, teachers having little children. Do they have a creche or a babysitting facility to take care of their children? Do you pay the teachers well? Do you motivate them with extra perks if they are performing better? Do you empower them? What power do you give? What authority do you give to teachers? Now, once you start redefining these roles, and what they are capable of doing, I think we can go a long way. Now, when we were talking about management, if management gives freedom for the administration to increase the quality of the deliverables, I'm sure the management will be happy in the long run, because automatically parents will choose the school, which is a quality institution. So it is a circle. I think all of us together, the stakeholders, parents, government, policymakers, teachers, students, together we make the school. It takes a village to raise a child. So this is applicable to, I think, all stakeholders being involved in the success of the child.
Absolutely. So thank you for this holistic perspective. We now move on to Mr. Krishnan, who represents parents over here. Many of us will also be parent teachers. So we would be actually in dual role of being a parent and a teacher. But here we have an exclusive parent who has 2 of his children studying in a particular school. And not only with that, he constantly discusses with other industry leaders as to what changes we need in the education system. So over to you, Mr. Krishnan, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I would like to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to represent the parents. Of course, my views, let me put a small disclosure, is that may not represent all the parents. But after talking to business leaders and all those things, right, I wear 2 hats. I'm an entrepreneur as well as a parent. So as an entrepreneur, when I see students come out of universities and schools and everything, right? Everybody comes with an expectation that they want the best salary, they want the best of everything in the office, and they want to grow in life, which is good. But when you talk to them, right, they have been told that, sir, we came this way, we were told to read this, we read it, we were asked to study, focus on our textbooks, we did it, we came here, this is our marks. And when you talk to somebody, right, their ambition is that they want guided method and they want to achieve something. So let me come back to the core question at hand. What does the school, what does the parent want from the school? I spoke to a lot of people when I was invited. 3 things came out. First thing is the environment. Most of the things, even Sheila Raghavan madam spoke about it. The second thing is learning. Learning is not just school. Learning is continuous. Today I have to learn. I learned a lot since today morning. I will continue to learn today. So learning is a continuous journey. Third thing is collaboration. Collaboration, when I say that, right, today's students think that unfortunately we are all going nuclear families. So they don't have anybody else to collaborate with. They have to go to their parents, or they have to go to their fellow students, they have to go to their teachers to collaborate with, and unfortunately nobody has time for them. That's the reality. So they have to collaborate within themselves. How do you ensure that? So small activities, so that you ensure that you build smaller teams, nuclear teams, 3 or 4 member teams who they can go to. That is one stress buster. I think everybody of us understands we have stress, children have more stress than us. Second point is, so environment, learning, collaboration. That's the first point. Second point is ability to think. Forget all the textbooks, because half of what is written in the textbooks is written with a certain agenda. Okay, when I read the textbooks, I think they are not meant for India to be a $15 trillion economy in next 5 years. It's okay for Modi to say 3 years, but I'll tell you, in next 5 to 7 years, whatever is the time frame, don't hold me to the time frame, but we are going to be a $15 trillion economy. What we need? Solar energy, because we need energy. We need sustainable environment. Who is talking about things like environmental economics? India is not even seeing those things, at least in things. So it brings me to the third point. Let's start thinking and let's start partnering. What do we mean by partnering? Of course, it's very difficult for parents to just say, oh, I send my son to the school, or my daughter to the school, I want 95% and they will come back and they are going to be the best. No way. Parents have to be part of the stakeholders. So it's easy to say, okay, parents always demand. So let us ask the parents, if you are expecting this from us, we also want this much from you. So the parent-teachers meeting should be what is needed in next 15 years. So in a chemistry class, I would like to bring a goldsmith to the class, because the chemical process of melting gold, if he teaches it in a very practical way, I think children may understand.
Or even taking the children to the
Goldsmith's office, whatever is possible. Next thing is, possibly there would be a chemical engineer somewhere. There'll be a physics teacher in some other class. Maybe we can invite an IISc professor for a physics class, and 3 or 4 schools can have a session like this. Children would enjoy it. So the idea is to think out of the box. Can parents contribute? Can me as a smart manufacturing guy? Because I'll tell you something. What I learned in last 20 years, I didn't learn in the first 20 years. Of course, I cannot blame my teachers or my curriculum or whatever it is. But what I learned in the first 20 years was a process. That helped me learn what I learned in last 20 years. So the process is what you guys should be focusing on. And that would be the expectation. Back to you, sir.
Thank you. We can have the second round to practically see how to go about. We've all come to one agreement that the various stakeholders are outside of our control and of our, let's say, direct influence. So, Dr. Krishnan sir, would you like to
Yeah,
start?
I would take on from what I mentioned about the previous Niti Ayog. The purpose of me to mention is the BCG has really finally concluded with the fact that what the entire stakeholders require is, of course, the learning outcome. But end of the day, whether it's a parent or a student or a management or let it be internal, external, is something that today when we teach, when our students grow up, they must be happy in life. The happiness is what the entire stakeholders expect from each other. And each of them need to collaborate and contribute towards this. And your question, sir, can you be a little more specific in your question, sir? Can I get on to your question now?
How do we go about doing it? How do we bring about happy children?
How do we bring out, like, for example, I represent SSVM institutions from Coimbatore. We have children joining us at the age of 2, 3, and then in the school for almost 15 to 16 years. They come as little babies, really raw. Purpose of education, as ma'am mentioned, and many of us mentioned, is not the number of degrees that you gather in your lifespan, but adding to that, following certain ethics, customs, discipline, respect for each other will add, then become a totally educated person. So I agree with ma'am did mention about it. Now, from my experience, what we do is we need to churn out those little raw hand children, the babies you call, in the formative stage. From a raw hand, make them diamonds by the time they reach the senior secondary. Now, when you talk about a diamond, everybody have heard about diamonds, I suppose. I'm sure the men would not have heard about it. The ladies at least would have heard about diamonds. Right. When you talk about a diamond has about 4 qualities. And one of the quality of a diamond is carat. Many of us talk about carat, go and buy 22 carat without really knowing the true meaning of what carat is. So diamond also has a carat as one of those qualities. The number 2 is the cut of a diamond. The number 3 is the color of a diamond. And number 4 is the clarity of a diamond. So what we do is we need to churn out all these 4 qualities of a diamond in the 15 years of their being with us in our campus. And how do we do that? See, if you look at the carat, anybody knows the true meaning of carat? Right. If you can tell me during the lunchtime, there's a small gift waiting for you. Because I still have not understood what the meaning of carat is all about. When you talk about the carat, I talk about that passion, bringing up the passion in your children, the positive energy in the children. Today, you look at the children after the lunch. I can look at you after the lunch if you're here. See, the 2 things which are attached to that carat is the passion and the positive energy. The number 2, when I mentioned about the cut of the diamond, I'm talking about the continuous performance of your children. It's not that one quarterly I first rank, half yearly, the 13th rank, by end of the annual examination, 25th rank. No, it is a continuous process of improvement. The performance must be just not fly-by-night operator's job. So the 3rd one which I mentioned is not the performance, and the 4th one is the perseverance. We teach the students, as you fall down, wake up, get up, and go back to normalcy. We all fall down. We have fell in our life many times. I fell on the 9th May 1986 when I got married, and I still been getting up and walking peacefully, and I still have the same wife as my wife with whom I got married on the 11th of May. 9th is my birthday, 11th of May in 1986. So perseverance, we need to teach the students how to get up and keep walking. How many times you fall, whatsoever. And that is what I attach those perseverance and performance to cut. The 3rd is, of course, the color of the diamond. When I talk about the color of the diamond, the personality of each of you, your attitude, your character, your behavior, which really matters, the personality. And the people skill is what I attach to, which I call is the color of a diamond. When I say people skill, it is not that our students must be taught to individually perform. Those days have gone. I think you must teach your students to perform in a group. The teamwork is more important. See, people have spoiled. I may perform very well individually, but when I get into a group, there is a politics there. There is a groupism there. Each trying to pull each other's leg. So avoid those and teach your children to form a group, a team, and be a leader in the team or be a member in the team. So working in a team is more important, because as you get into the future multinationals, what they look at is not your individual performances, but what they really look at is your teamwork. And the last one which I say is the clarity of how good you are as a diamond. But if these 3 qualities which you don't put into your children, I think you're going to miss the bus. And those are perspective, principle, and the last one, very, very important, which I certainly need to hit the hammer on the nail, not on the coffin, to all of you, is the patriotism. By the end of the day, if your students don't leave your school without respecting the society, without respecting your own motherland, I think we have missed the bus. When they get into the professional college, they behave in a totally different manner. Patriotism is something to, being proud of being an Indian, being proud of this nation. No, we have been stamping on this. We say motherland, but almost 16 years or 17 years, we've been stamping on this motherland. And how many of us really, Independence Day, hoist the flag, Republic Day, hoist the flag. We sing a song, patriotic song. But that really, I think just want to quote one example. One example of what I say patriotism is, how many of you know about Toyota is one of the best in quality. And Detroit was a company, is the place where they used to make foreign cars in the US, and they wanted to know how this Toyota is making such a quality engines. They come to Toyota and ask those fellows, hey, how do you make it? And that fellow who's sitting from 9 a.m. till night 9 p.m. just fitting the doors of those Toyota cars. These guys, Detroit guys, the General Motors, they come to this guy and say, hey, how do you do it here without absolutely no feel of tiresome? And this guy, Lepra, says, sir, from morning 9 to 9 p.m., the moment the door comes, we just fix it up. And the moment we fix it up, only one thing we think in our mind, that when we are just fitting it, we feel that we are screwing Americans. That is the patriotism. That's the patriotism to the teachers and principles that you must develop. And that is what those qualities which I mentioned could make your child a happy citizen of a country. Thank you.
Sridhar, Vanglada.
Yeah, please. You're asking me tough question or easy question? Oh, sorry. Yeah. I thought
More questions, more diamonds will come for you in the lunchtime, sir.
So much, sir. I am most welcome. Thank you.
Definitely they are searching for carrot. Not for diamonds. I think it's yes.
Carrot will be there.
The carrot will be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sridhar, sir, yeah. With your long-standing experience, how do you think we can bring all stakeholders on a common platform to bring about improvement in quality?
Yes, sir. One school, the society needs something, the parent needs something, the students expect something. Entirely, sir notify, entirely the patriotism and respect to elders and knowledge of servicing the society, then what we can get, we give it to the society without expectations, like kalams.
Aram Sarnda.
Kalams. Aram Sarnda and the Kalvi கொடுக்கப்பட்டால் நிச்சயமாக இந்த பேட்ரியாட்டிசம் என்று சொல்லக்கூடிய அத்தனை கேரக்டர்களும் அவங்கள்ட்ட இருந்து வரும். இந்த அறம் சார்ந்த கல்வி தான் நம்மளுக்கு முக்கியமா இருக்கணும்.
From our angle, yes. But how do parents or students really look forward to value-based education, madam?
No, I would like to reiterate the active engagement of all the stakeholders in the running of the school, the day-to-day running. Now, sir was mentioning about parent involvement. Now, for example, in our school, we have parent leadership forums where parents empower other parents through after-school activities. Like, for example, if parents coming from the north do not know Tamil, and Tamil has become a mandatory language, we have classes for the North Indian parents done by the South Indian parents. There are parents who conduct financial classes for investment and savings for other parents. Now, these kind of, active involvement of parents with the schools running, make them have that ownership of the school. And through thick and thin, especially during the Corona years, our parents supported us by paying 100% fees, which is remarkable, and that is why we were able to pay each and every teacher in our school 100% fees. I was so shocked when I heard teachers coming and applying to our schools saying they were hardly paid 20 to 30% of their salaries from different schools. Now, as I said, it's all linked. And parent volunteers, for example, abroad, they take active, ownership of the learning process as well. They volunteer inside the classrooms for activities, for outdoor programs. They accompany the children to ensure safety of the children. So parents can be actively involved. Now, nowadays, we feel that it's a risk to allow the parents inside. But we have nothing to hide. So why should we not allow parents to come inside the system? Also teachers, when you give them the ownership, that made to feel that you belong to the school. It is like a family. When you need, we will be there. When we keep reiterating, have motivating, activities for them, maybe take them out for outings, or, a movie thrown in, or we have competitions for the best teacher every month, or maybe just a potluck where teachers bring in food. They feel they're part of the system. They don't want to leave it. So the stakeholders, when they get, involved and engaged, they will definitely contribute to the system. And that goes for management also. Management should also be engaged with the school and not just come at the end of the year to look at the finances. Now, when they come on a daily basis, they know what is the process all about, what agony is going on inside the classes, and how the teachers are performing, how the administrators are performing. So they also understand the process better. So all stakeholders should be actively engaged in school. Now, I was asking, and Bhavani Shankar sir was answering about, the accreditation process. Why doesn't it happen every year for every school in India like it happens abroad? Because any board you take, they come in once in 4 years or 5 years, and until then anything can happen. So when they are coming, everything is put together. That shouldn't be the way quality should be established in a school. The process should be so solid that anytime anybody walks in, there is perfection. And that is how every school should attain a level of quality, not afraid of that 4th year's inspection, but that every year anybody can walk in and I have to do things properly. So that is when all stakeholders are happy and everybody is, successful in the system.
So transparent and engaging system is a
Yes, it's very, very
hallmark
important
of
to be
your school.
transparent. Even when the school is having a problem, have the guts to say it. You have to open up and say, then the parents support you. We did that and we got the support of our parents. So
Thank
don't be afraid to open your heart to anybody.
Thank you. I would throw open the panelists for taking questions or comments from the audience, please. Please.
Sir, Sridhar sir, this is directed to you. See, we have been talking about stakeholders, but we have not talked about the client, the purpose for which the school exists. So, see, this is a singular biggest purpose. So I think if we throw light on it, it would be really, really lovely, because we looked at several stakeholders, but then let us look at the singular biggest purpose for why the school exists.
Would you like to take?
I ask this question to every student who applies to our school. Why did you choose our school? And what are you looking for? As small as this, they would have aspirations. One would say, I want to become a grocery shop owner because it's got all the candy. And there would be another who says, I want to be a police official. Another would say, I want to be an engineer. So they come inside at 2-3 years old, as you said, and have these aspirations. But you ask a grade 10 student what you want to become. The aspiration becomes modified by the society, by the parents, and the pressure. So the client, the student, is the most important stakeholder in the entire system. And we have to respect the client so much so that we build the system around it. When the child becomes the center of the system, every stakeholder would find the final success, that they're looking for. Because if the child becomes central to the system, the learning process becomes better, the teaching process is modified, upgraded, and the parents are also happy because the child is going to be a success. So I think we should concentrate on the child who's...
Madam, any points on?
Yeah, just to add on from whatever you mentioned, that if I ask you a question, who pays your salary? I mean, if you're working in a school, most of us say it's the management. When I talk about B2C, the business to customer, my customer are the students. So if you ask me who pays my salary, it's not the management, it is the student. Every fees, out of which maybe 1 rupee or 2 rupees or 3 rupees come as salary for us. And in fact, we are indebted to that client who is a student, hoping to be somebody later in their life. And let me tell you, let's take a pledge today that we as teachers, whether you are a trustee, correspondent, principal, whoever you are, teachers, whoever you are, we need to take a pledge. We owe a lot to that community, to that client as a student. Agree with me? Little louder. It's time for lunch. I know the claps may be a little feeble. Yes, sir.
We'll quickly take 2 more questions. The gentleman on the back, please. Yeah, we'll come to him. I'll come to you, sir. 1 minute. We'll come to you.
So, good afternoon. Actually, I'm so scared, to talk in front of such fountainheads of knowledge here. But still, I want to place one point. We all have smartphones, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you are going to buy a smartphone, what would be the first parameter that you're looking for?
Price.
Sorry?
I look at
What are the
price.
qualities? Okay, fine. Price.
For a rich man.
So, what other quality you look for? Now, I want to buy a smartphone. So, now
யாருகிட்ட
what is the most
யார்கிட்டையும் இல்லாத என்கிட்ட இருக்கணும்னு வாங்குவோம். பிராண்ட்.
fine brand? All right.
யார்கிட்டையுமே இல்லாத இருக்கிறது நான் வச்சுக்கணும்னு நினைப்போம்.
All right.
Yes.
It should have many features. All right. So any one feature, what? Sorry? Auto update version. Then camera, pixel. Fine. So actually what the phone is for? Phone is for talking. We never look whether the phone is durable, whether the phone, is it water resistant? We look for what is the camera quality, what is the pixel, what is how many megapixel front camera, how many megapixel back camera, does it support 5G or 4G?
Nobody is
But I'm
looking
going to
that.
talk over the
The
phone.
market is coming new in the market. They can buy easily
They
because
can
of
buy
their
easily. So
society
which-
status.
So which means that
Only for society status only. They have the purchase the phone day to day come.
exactly. But
Various perspectives. I think
no,
you
let
come
me
to the
let me complete it, sir. Let me complete it. Sir, I'm not sure whether I can answer your question, but still, let me just put for the point. So, when we look for something, we are not actually looking for the need, we are actually looking for the want. Hope I am clear. We are not looking for the need, we are looking for the want. Phone வாங்கணுங்கிறது பேசுறதுக்கு, but I'm not focusing on that. I'm rather focusing on the camera, I'm rather focusing on the style, I'm rather focusing on the game.
Not
Sir, I think you have to allow me to speak. When your turn comes, you can speak. Fine? All right? So, and the panel discussion topic is actually expectations of stakeholders from school.
Yes, madam. So
That's
what
where
was
the
your
problem
point
starts.
in this context?
That's where the problem starts. It's expectation. We expect too much. We are not looking for the need, we look for the want. As a parent, my focus is education, but I'm not looking more of education. நம்ப மாட்டீங்க admission வந்தாங்க
Come to the
ஸ்கூலுக்குள்ள
point.
நுழைஞ்ச உடனே வந்த first question what they asked is, does the school have swimming pool?
Do you have a question to the panel, please?
Sorry?
Do you have a specific question to the panelists?
Yes, sir, just 1 minute. It's about the point on parents' expectation, because mostly it was covered on teachers and management, but definitely parents have a vital role in this. Parents' expectation is not about what the actual need is. They expect something more, and that makes
Okay,
the
point
teachers
well
or the
taken.
management to
There's a
expect
big
more.
gap between the
Ma'am.
expectations
Not
what
like
is
that, ma.
achieved.
Not like
So on
that.
that point,
Yes.
we can take only one question. Yeah, we can take from this.
Who?
I became a teacher thinking that I can make a change in the society or for the cause of education. I realized that I could not do much. I became an administrator. I started feeling the same thing that
Ma'am,
yes, even as an
can we straight
administrator,
come to questions,
yes,
please?
I
Because
could
we are
not do
running
much.
short of time.
Yes. My one question to QCI or EPSI or all these panel members, is there a possibility for schools to completely scrap quantitative assessments and go for qualitative assessments? Because
So,
completely
She
scrap.
mentioned yearly very good. What's your goal of your school? What's goal of your
Sir,
school? You go
this
according to that.
cannot happen, sir. The change cannot happen in isolation, sir. It has to happen as a policy. It has to come till the root from the top as a policy from the government. Schools cannot scrap this assessments based on marks in isolation. So for
Similarly-
this, what exactly is NABET or QCI going to help us?
I
So
think
it
Thank you
can
very
be
much.
coexisting.
we
Both
have-
qualitative assessments and quantitative assessments can coexist. As in international boards, the competency-based questions, which the NEP has advocated, should become more and more. The more it becomes more qualitative and it's more application-oriented, thinking out of the box. So students are challenged and therefore there is more quality. So qualitative and quantitative is important, because if there is only qualitative, then what will happen to those children who do not have the capacity to think out of the box or apply their knowledge? So there is a basic level at which, we should have, base level knowledge. We cannot scrap exams because they need to be a
we will let
unified system
Nabat
of
address at
assessing
end
the learning of the
concluding
pupil.
session.
Yeah. No, because of
We will
the,
let Nabat will also address your point at the concluding session.
I have two questions. Both are related to children. Now, I have been handling children from transiting from 10th to 11th standard with great difficulty. We identify the potential of the child. We tell that this is the group suited for you. Everything we counsel. At that moment, the child will be convinced. The child will convince the parent also. When it comes to admission, the success criteria which the parent keeps is, my child should pass in, get admission in NEET and settle abroad. This is the criteria. So how to overcome this problem? Like, we know the child is not capable of taking the exam. The child will do much better in social work or, in commerce group, maybe a very good entrepreneur, but the parent is not ready to accept. This is one problem. The next is, we keep talking about holistic development. But when we look at the assessment systems, everywhere it is the scholastic activities only are given marks. Suppose the child is good in sports or like equal, like an exam is compulsory for every child to take. But when it comes to activities like sports or music, dance, etc., we don't insist that it is absolutely necessary for all children to take. And the grading system also doesn't allow that.
We will let the panelists address
Yeah.
this. Thank you.
Yes. Up to 9th standard, we give all the extracurricular activities to the children. From the 9th standard, all of us concentrate on study only. Parents also getting concentration on studies only. We give opportunity to all child, whatever the child want. How can we put this child for science group, this science for arts group? You have grown the child, you have watched the child, what's the need of the child? Suppose you give opportunity to the science group, one child, he is not capable of capturing the science group. How can you decide? Out of 450 marks, you choose the first group. Out of 250 marks, you choose the arts group. The science group students failed. How can you get how can you justify? Yes.
So it's all about career guidance and counseling in schools. Now we have a program from 8 to 12. From grade 8, the child chooses based on his abilities and aptitudes, and then we have a career counselor, people coming from out, making the child understand his options. So from grade 8, the child is empowered to think out of the box, to choose his careers and higher educational choices. So this should be the answer. Every school should invest in proper career guidance and counseling.
So let me answer it in 1 second. Start working with the parents from their child's 8th standard onwards. And then let me add one more point. NEET, JEE, all those things are going to absorb only 0.1% of the thing. India needs 99.9% of the more people. Okay. So we are going to be a 15 trillion economy in next 10 years. So every minute counts. So we start now.
On that note, we come to a conclusion.
Most of the parents are not educated or exposed to such career guidance for them. So in such cases, what do? The expectations are more, which is very natural for most of the schools. We find it very difficult because they do not know the ability, in spite of the child himself or herself puts forward it. So the best option is expose the parents as well as the students to lot of career opportunity right from class 8. So that by the time the child comes to 10th standard or 12th standard, it's very beautiful for them to assess themselves and choose the career what is important. But as you rightly said, aspirations for parent is like one step above, like how I am living. I should like make my child at least one step above is the aspiration for any parent. That we can't deny that. Okay, but how the child can make his own betterment, this it lies on the children. That we have to bring.
On that note, we come to a conclusion that various stakeholders have different expectations versus the capacities of understanding the expectations by the institution management also differ. And looking at client as a primary stakeholder is also a major paradigm shift. You need to look at not only parents as a stakeholder, the society, the community, and the country is also a stakeholder in the education system. On that note, thank you all for this good session, and we hope to continue our informal discussions over lunch also. Thank you very much.
Thank you
each
so
and
much.
everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all the eminent speakers for such a fruitful discussion, and thank you, audience. Please be here. We want to invite Mr. Arjun Sampath. He is Chairman, Vivekanand Public School. Ms. Madhu Ahluwalia, Dr. Manish Jindal, and Mr. P.R. Mehta, sir, to please come on the stage. Sir, please give away and present this memento to Mr. Narayan Hariharan, CEO, AMM Foundation. Please, big round of applause. Next memento to Mr. Krishnan Ramaswamy. He is Managing Director, Systema Automation, representative as a parent. Mrs. J. Poorna Durachi, Principal, the Ashok Leyland School, Hosur. Mrs. Majella Philip, she is Principal, Babaji Vidyashram School. Dr. Krishnan Kutty, CEO, SSVM Group of Institutions. Mr. 𝗤𝗂𝗶𝗆, Founder, President, Tamil Nadu Correspondents Association of Private Schools. Now I would request all the dignitaries to please come on the stage for a group photograph. Now, can we move on to plenary session 3? Okay, so we'll be back after lunch. And